She was trapped in a foreign land, fighting for her life and her daughter's freedom. This is Not Without My Daughter, 1991, a haunting true story of courage, survival, and a mother's unbreakable will. Today, we're diving into 15 shocking truths behind this powerful film, from dangerous on-location shoots and cast transformations to the hidden symbolism and controversies that made it one of the most unforgettable dramas of the 90s. Number 1, the true story was so terrifying. Even the film crew feared for their safety. What makes Not Without My Daughter so gripping is that it wasn't just fiction. It was based on the real story of Betty Mahmoudi, an American mother trapped in Iran with her daughter. But few realized that even during filming, fear was very real on set. Director Brian Gilbert wanted authenticity, until he was warned that shooting in Iran could put lives at risk. The production relocated to Israel and Turkey, transforming entire towns to look like Tehran. Even there, the tension was palpable. Crews received anonymous threats, and some local extras refused to appear on camera, terrified their participation might bring them trouble back home. Sally Field later said, "There were moments where it didn't feel like acting anymore. We were living the fear Betty once felt. That raw authenticity bled into every frame, making the movie's tension disturbingly real." Number 2, Sally Field almost turned down the role, until a real-life meeting changed everything. It's hard to picture anyone but Sally Field in the role of Betty, but she almost walked away from it. Coming off Steel Magnolias, she was exhausted by emotionally heavy roles and didn't want to play another suffering mother. Then she met the real Betty Mahmoudi, and everything changed. Betty told her, "If you play me, don't make me a victim. Make me a survivor." That single line hit Field like lightning. She later said she felt a moral duty to honor that message.
I worked on the script though, and so when I see the film, I see myself.
Yeah.
And I have met Sally. I was on location, and
Her performance wasn't just acting, it was a portrait of resilience. The quiet power in her eyes, the trembling determination that came straight from their meeting. Number 3, Alfred Molina's role was so intense, it haunted him for years. Before playing Moody Mahmoudi, Alfred Molina was mostly known for charming, likable characters. But his transformation here shocked everyone, including himself. His portrayal of a husband's love turning into control was so chilling that many viewers couldn't separate Molina from the character. After the film's release, he received hate mail accusing him of being abusive in real life. Some people even confronted him in public.
Now you listen to me. You're in my country now. You're my wife. You do as I say, you understand me?
Field later defended him, saying, "Alfred played Moody with humanity, even when the audience couldn't see it anymore. The performance was so believable, it became both a blessing and a curse. It proved Molina's range, but also left a shadow he had to shake for years." Number 4, the symbolism of the veil and the door, hidden visual messages you missed. Every great 90s drama used visual language, and Not Without My Daughter was no exception. Throughout the film, doors and veils appear again and again. Director Brian Gilbert and cinematographer Peter Hannon designed them as metaphors for confinement and liberation. Each time Betty passes through a doorway, the camera subtly tilts upward, symbolizing her struggle against forces bigger than herself.
Nice. Very nice. عکس پدر مادرش اونجا تو امریکا.
And the veil? It's more than cultural context. It represents silence. When Betty finally removes it in her escape, the moment becomes an unveiling of truth, her reclaiming of identity and voice. It's visual storytelling at its best, quiet, poetic, and deeply human. Number 5, the real Betty Mahmoudi's reaction shocked the studio. When the real Betty Mahmoudi first saw the finished movie, her reaction wasn't what the studio expected. She praised Sally Field's performance, but said the film made her ordeal look too easy. "I thought I would die out there," she said. "They made it look polished. It wasn't."
she hated him when we came back, and during the escape she said, "I hate Daddy for doing this to us."
Her criticism wasn't anger, it was pain. The film captured her courage, but not the full horror of her escape through the mountains of Turkey with her daughter. Still, the movie brought global attention to women's rights, cultural captivity, and international marriage laws, issues Betty spent the rest of her life advocating for. Number 6, the escape scene was so real, Sally Field broke down after filming. The climactic escape through the mountains is one of the most gripping moments of the entire film. And what many don't realize is that Sally Field's reaction was 100% genuine. The production team shot those sequences in the freezing hills of Turkey, where temperatures dropped below zero. There were no heated tents, no stunt doubles for key shots. Field and the young actress Sheila Rosenthal had to endure the brutal cold for hours. At one point, Field's tears during the escape weren't scripted. She later admitted she wasn't acting anymore. The exhaustion, the frostbite, the fear, all real. Crew members recalled she had to be helped off set, trembling and in tears after the final take. It was one of those moments where filmmaking and reality blurred completely, and the rawness of that performance became one of the most unforgettable emotional payoffs in 90s cinema. Number 7. The child actress barely remembered filming, but it haunted her later. The little girl who played Mahtob, Sheila Rosenthal, was only around 7 years old during production, and for her, much of the film's fear was real confusion.
And keep us always safe in your care.
And keep us always safe in your care.
Sally Field went to great lengths to shield Sheila from the darker context of the story. The young actress thought it was just a movie about a mom and daughter trying to get home. But years later, in interviews, Sheila said watching the movie as an adult was deeply unsettling. "I didn't realize how dark it really was," she said. "When I saw it later, it hit me that we'd been reenacting a true nightmare." Despite her young age, Sheila's natural fear, especially in scenes with Alfred Molina, gave the film an unfiltered authenticity, the kind you can't direct, only capture. Number 8. The film ignited an international controversy and was banned in several countries. When Not Without My Daughter premiered in early 1991, it immediately stirred controversy. In Iran, it was labeled anti-Islamic propaganda. The Iranian government officially banned the movie, calling it a distortion of culture and faith. Protests were organized at several U.S. screenings, and some Middle Eastern advocacy groups accused the film of reinforcing negative stereotypes about Iranian men. Sally Field defended the project, saying it wasn't about religion or nationality. It was about one woman's truth. "This wasn't an attack," she said. "It was a cry for freedom." But the backlash grew so heated that the film's international marketing campaign had to be revised. Some posters and TV spots were pulled entirely in certain regions. To this day, Not Without My Daughter remains one of the most controversial true story dramas of the early 90s, praised for its bravery, condemned for its perspective. Number 9. The real Moody Mahmoodi told his side and claimed it was all lies. In 2002, over a decade after the film's release, the real Dr. Syed Bozorg Moody Mahmoodi, Betty's husband, released a documentary of his own titled Without My Daughter. It was his attempt to tell his side of the story. In the film, he claimed he never trapped Betty or Mahtob, and that Betty's account was a fabrication designed to gain fame and money. He even said Betty had agreed to stay longer in Iran and later changed her mind. The documentary shocked many who had only heard Betty's version. But Mahtob Mahmoodi, now an adult, publicly defended her mother, calling her father's story a rewriting of reality. This battle of perspectives turned the Mahmoodi family saga into an international debate about truth, memory, and manipulation, echoing the movie's haunting themes of control and freedom long after the credits rolled. Number 10. The movie's score hid a secret layer of emotion. The haunting atmosphere of Not Without My Daughter owes much to composer Jerry Goldsmith, who created a score that many describe as emotionally claustrophobic. Goldsmith used Middle Eastern instruments blended with Western orchestration to build a sonic tension, symbolizing the cultural and emotional trap Betty faced. But here's the fascinating part. Goldsmith deliberately avoided giving the film a traditional hero theme. He said in an interview, "There was no hero, only survival." The music constantly feels unresolved, even in the final scene, subtly leaving the audience uneasy, as if the trauma could never fully end. It's an emotional design choice that makes the film linger in your mind long after it's over, and a masterclass in how sound can carry psychological storytelling. Number 11. Sally Field's relationship with the real Betty Mahmoodi became strained. During production, Sally Field and Betty Mahmoodi formed a close bond, but that relationship didn't last. After filming wrapped, Betty reportedly felt the movie softened her reality, while Field believed the film had portrayed her story as truthfully as possible. Field later said, "I loved and respected Betty deeply, but at some point, Hollywood and real life can't fit in the same frame." Betty, on the other hand, began to publicly separate her activism from the film, worried that it would overshadow her ongoing mission for human rights advocacy. The two women never publicly reunited, but in many ways, both carried the same torch, one through storytelling, the other through survival. Number 12. The real-life daughter, Mahtob Mahmoodi, finally broke her silence. Decades later. For over 2 decades, Mahtob Mahmoodi stayed silent, refusing all interviews about her childhood. Then, in 2015, she published her own memoir titled, My Name is Mahtob. Her story confirmed much of her mother's account, but revealed new emotional depth. She shared how even years later, she still feared being found by her father. Every phone ring, every knock at the door would send her heart racing.
Now Mahtob shares their ordeal in her book, My Name is Mahtob, and how she learned to forgive the father who shattered her life.
Yet, she also spoke about forgiveness, saying she no longer lived in anger, but in gratitude for the freedom her mother fought for. It's one of the most powerful epilogues in movie history, proof that survival doesn't end when the credits roll, it evolves. Number 13. A deleted scene. Changed the tone of the entire film. Few fans know this. One of the most emotionally charged scenes was cut from the final version. Originally, there was a quiet moment near the end, after Betty's escape, where she and Mahtob stopped to burn the last of their Iranian papers, symbolizing a final goodbye to their old life. The scene reportedly tested too emotional for preview audiences. Some found it overwhelming, so the studio decided to trim it for pacing. But insiders say Sally Field considered it her best moment in the entire film. A copy of that deleted footage still exists in MGM's archives, unseen by the public to this day. Sometimes the most powerful truths never make the screen. Number 14. Critics were divided, but the movie found a lifelong audience. When Not Without My Daughter premiered, critics were sharply split. Some called it gripping and courageous, while others dismissed it as melodramatic. But audiences felt something critics didn't: truth. For many viewers, especially women, the movie became a rallying cry for independence and maternal strength. Home video rentals surged throughout the 90s, and TV reruns made it a staple of late-night emotional cinema. In small towns and women's shelters, the film was shown as an educational story about resilience and courage. It didn't just survive the critics, it outlived them, becoming a quiet classic for those who saw themselves in Betty's struggle. Number 15. The ending you see on screen almost didn't happen. The iconic final shot, Betty and Mahtob walking into the light as the camera lingers in silence, was never in the original script. The studio wanted a traditional Hollywood ending, with triumphant music and narration, but director Brian Gilbert refused. He argued that real freedom doesn't come with applause, it comes with quiet disbelief. After you've lived through hell, he said, you don't celebrate, you just keep walking. That haunting silence became one of the most memorable endings of any early 90s drama. A moment that forces the audience to exhale only after the screen fades to black. A perfect ending for a story that was never meant to feel easy. Not Without My Daughter wasn't just a movie. It was a mirror of fear, love, and unbreakable will. Whether you saw it in theaters in '91 or found it years later on VHS, it's one of those rare stories that stays under your skin. So here's my question for you. Which moment from this film still gives you chills? The escape? The silence? The strength in Sally Field's eyes? Tell us in the comments below. And if you love rediscovering powerful films like this one, hit subscribe and join RewatchClub, where nostalgia isn't just remembered, it's relived. Because sometimes the most powerful stories are the ones we can't walk away from, not without remembering why they mattered.